So oftentimes, what I am seeing is that women are refusing to take their seat at the financial table. And what I mean by that is, and these are smart, capable women, right? Maybe they don't have every single information about, finances, but that doesn't matter. These are women who are fully capable of understanding like what's going on with their finances, making good, aligned decisions, and they're not taking their seat there. You can't blame somebody else for the situation that you end up in financially if you're not making aligned intentional choices and you're not stepping up to the plate and allowing yourself to be in the financial conversation. I want to very much specify that being a part of the financial conversation does not mean you control all the money. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified. I'm your host, Jax Crider. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about outsourcing your power. And so I'm going to give you some specific examples, some specific stories that I've been witnessing here in moms groups and even in my own life. And so I just wanted to take an opportunity to talk specifically to the women listening about outsourcing your power. And I specifically mean financial power. So as you know, on Financial Mastery Simplified, we are all about simplifying you being able to master yourself financially, right? And making sure that what we are doing is in direct alignment. We're being intentional with the choices that we're making when it comes to our finances and to our money. And so oftentimes what I am seeing is that women are refusing to take their seat at the financial table. And what I mean by that is, and these are smart, capable women, right? Maybe they don't have every single information about, finances, but that doesn't matter. These are women who are fully capable of understanding like what's going on with their finances, making good, aligned decisions about what's going on. They're not taking their seat there, right? And so let's talk for a minute, first of all, on why this is so important, right? So the first thing that I want to say is you can't blame somebody else for the situation that you end up in financially if you're not making aligned intentional choices and you're not stepping up to the plate and allowing yourself to be in the financial conversation. Now, I want to very much specify that being a part of the financial conversation does not mean you control all the money. It doesn't mean you don't hire amazing experts to help you make well-aligned decisions. It doesn't mean that you can't have another party do most of the financial handling of the actual money itself. None of those things are true. And I'll give you an example. So in my previous marriage, my first marriage, it was a disaster for a few reasons. Number one, because he did make all the financial decisions and I did not step up to the plate. I was not empowered financially. It was very much a situation of financial abuse because he held all the control, but also wouldn't even let me when I tried to kind of come back into the picture. But I say all that to say that I was outsourcing my financial power and I wasn't even trying for a very long time. And when I was trying, it was very apparent that it actually was financial abuse. It wasn't just outsourcing my power and saying, okay, you handle this, and he handled it and that was it, right? Whereas in my current marriage, we absolutely make financial decisions together. We absolutely know what is happening in our money. And then we very specifically handle different buckets. So he handles certain things in the financial realm. I handle other things. Sometimes we do a little swapping depending on what's happening. But as a general rule, he handles most, my current husband handles most of our major financial situations. And so a lot of people would say, well, doesn't that mean that, you aren't stepping up financially? Well, no. In fact, it is a smart, calculated decision because there are certain things I feel like he is better equipped to do than I am. And if I see him floundering or struggling, I try to step in. I try to help him, right? I try to make sure that we're still in alignment with what we're looking for, that we haven't drifted on the conversations that we're having about money and decisions that we're making. And so oftentimes what I see is a few things, okay? Number one, a lot of women think it's just easier to let somebody else handle it, right? And so they're just outsourcing their financial power. Again, it's perfectly fine to have a professional or even somebody else in your life who is helping you manage or handle the money. What I am talking about is a full outsource. Like we're not even looking at it. We're not making decisions. We're not even asking ourselves if it's in alignment with what we want. We're just blindly trusting somebody else to handle it. This can absolutely lead to financial abuse if it hasn't already. It also can lead to being blindsided if something happens in transition. And what I mean by that is what happens if, God forbid, that individual passes away, or God forbid they choose to leave, or God forbid you want to leave. You're like over it. You feel trapped. You feel like your opinion, not just on money, but on anything, is being taken into account. And so you're done. Or could be a situation where somebody loses a job, or a major financial kind of downfall starts happening in our lives. And I think what a lot of people misunderstand about financial mastery is it isn't about bad things happening, okay? Because if you are a financial master of your life, it does not mean that you don't have bad things transpire. Any of you who have listened at all to my story know that I have dealt with major, serious, large financial downfall, right? Of just horrible things outside of my control happening. And it doesn't mean that I haven't simplified financial mastery, that I am not still in alignment or walking down the path. Does it mean that I've had to shift some? Does it mean that I've had to ask myself hard questions about, is this still in alignment? Is this really the way that I want to go? How can we make movement? Yes, to all of those. But what I'm finding time and time again is that I'm seeing in all of these moms groups, and this is where I wanted to tell a few stories, these women, and what's happening is that they're well educated. Maybe they're making all the money. Maybe they're not making all the money, but they're staying at home and they're handling all the family situations and things like this or whatever. And now they're in a situation where they're having to make the decision of, do I need to be stepping up and into this financial situation because my husband is having issues? Maybe he is going through a mental crisis. Maybe he's going through an emotional crisis. There's a lot of things, right, that happen in life that come about. And a lot of these women don't feel equipped to help with the financial aspect. Why? Because they've never held a seat at their own financial table for their own lives. And I just personally think that is a huge, huge mistake, right? I'll give you a perfect example. My brother and his wife, they have a very traditional relationship in the sense that his wife stays home and watches their children, and he is the main breadwinner. He's the worker. She does have her own little small company that she makes some money through, but as a general rule, he is making most of the money that is supporting their family. And the amazing part about their relationship is that she has a seat at the financial table. When they're making large decisions, she is actively helping make those decisions. And a lot of people will be like, well, she doesn't make the money, she doesn't get a say. Absolutely not true. And that is one of the biggest things that I see in moms groups that I absolutely want to speak to right now. So many times I see these women, and I'll give you a very specific example. Last week I was reading one, and this woman, she is a stay-at-home mom, and her husband has made some comments to her, kind of snide comments about her not making any money. So she actually has tried to DoorDash, do some other things, try to make some money. And he will oftentimes pull her back. Well, I need you to be cooking, I need you to be watching kids, and so we have a little bit of disconnect here. But he is about to take another job where he's making substantially less money, and the reason he's giving is because he wants to be closer to home. Okay, super fair. But he's telling her she doesn't get to weigh in on that decision. And so she was looking for advice, and absolutely she gets to weigh in on that decision. Now, obviously, there may be a lot of reasons that he's looking to take this lower paying job or whatever. But because it is directly affecting their financial situation, because it is directly affecting how this is going to look, it is absolutely reasonable for them to be sitting down and having a conversation about how this is going to change and affect their life. And does that now mean that maybe he keeps up with some of the household responsibilities a little bit more, so now she can find a job to cover the delta of the difference in income if that's what they want to do? Or maybe they're okay talking together and figuring out that it is more important for him to be closer to home, to be more in line with spending time with his children, and being able to figure out, how do we now cut back to make the changes in our lives that would accommodate this change, right?
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors. Welcome to Financial Mastery Simplified, your go-to podcast for making smart money decisions. We break down complex financial topics into easy-to-understand advice you can use every day. Our experts cover everything from budgeting and saving to investing and retirement planning. We give you the tools to take control of your money and build the future you want. With Financial Mastery Simplified, you'll feel informed and empowered to make the best choices for your financial health. Tune in to Financial Mastery Simplified on your favorite podcast platform. Start your journey to financial confidence today.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Welcome to House U, where we believe in the power of education. At House U, we're more than just a brand. We're your partner in home ownership, dedicated to educating, equipping, and empowering you every step of the way. Education is at the heart of everything we do. We offer comprehensive resources designed to make home ownership simple and accessible for all. From understanding mortgage options to mastering home maintenance, House U provides the knowledge you need to make informed decisions with confidence. We host workshops and seminars, bringing together experts and community members to share insights and build a stronger, more informed community. Because when you're educated, you're empowered. House U, home ownership made simple for all. Visit our website or contact us today to start your journey with House U. Empower yourself with knowledge and embrace the joy of home ownership.
Thanks for your patience. Now back to our conversation.
And so oftentimes I think that women, maybe especially who don't either make as much money as their partner or their significant other, or they don't make any money. They are a stay-at-home parent. They are looking at it from the lens of, well, I don't make enough, so I don't get a say. That's entirely untrue. You 1,000% get a say in your own life. Okay. No matter whether you're making $0 or $1 million a month, it doesn't matter. Okay. Just like when I'm making financial decisions for my business and things like that are affecting my family, I go and I look to at least have a conversation with my husband. It doesn't mean that he gets to say no or tell me I can't do it, but it does mean that I have the courtesy to have those conversations. And there has been a few times where I've misstepped and I haven't had that conversation with him. And it has created a little bit of turmoil in our lives because, again, he deserves a financial seat at our table to be able to weigh in on how this is looking. Also understand that I am a very firm believer in that everybody should have some of their own money. What do I mean by that? I mean that regardless of how much money either party or both parties are making, that we have the money that's together for our household to pay our bills, for the betterment of like maybe savings, things like this, right? These different things. And then we also have a little bit of our own money, usually in a separate account, so that we can have a little bit of freedom with that. I feel like that it is really good to do so. I know some people don't handle it that way. If it works for your relationship and is working in your relationship, that's perfectly fine. But I want you to do a little assessment to ensure that that is something that is actually working for your relationship, right? Because if it's not, then I highly encourage you to consider going ahead and empowering yourself by each holding some money. That means that if, let's say, one of you is stay at home and maybe it's the husband, or maybe it's it's the guy in the situation, he should also still have some of his own money, right? That's really important for if he wants to buy you a really nice gift or you want to buy him a really nice gift, that you're not constantly having to like ask for an allowance. Like this is not a parent-child situation, right? And that's super, super important. The other thing that I see come up all the time, specifically in moms groups, is this conversation. So one person, again, typically the male, is making a lot more money than the other person. And they're splitting bills like roommates. 50-50. You pay 50%, I pay 50%, whatever. And a lot of times this is putting the woman in the position of not being able to save for things that she wants to, etc. If you are in a committed relationship, hopefully married, but if not married, committed enough where you are blending finances together, be it owning a home, be it having joint credit cards, joint, debt, things like that, or whatever, lots of joint accounts, you guys should be having a conversation, and it shouldn't be this like 50-50 roommate situation, because oftentimes you're having kids involved and things like that. And marriage or committed relationship, it's not 50-50. It's 100%, 100%. Okay. And so in this particular situation and scenario, you need to be having a conversation about how this money flows in. Now, this is, again, doesn't mean that you each don't have some of your own money, but maybe if one of you is making 2 times more than the other person, then maybe they contribute 2 times more into the general bucket where bills and things are now flowing out of. You can establish it and create it however you want, but you need to feel in a committed relationship like financial equals. Like there's not one person pulling all the strings and then the other person is just along for the ride. That's not the look here. And so when I talk about financial empowerment, when I talk about taking your seat at the table, I'm talking about you having the wherewithal to stand up and have the conversation that is not always easy to have. Because if you're not willing to have some of these deep conversations, right, then what's going to happen is it's going to catch you off guard. We help in the mortgage space specifically a lot of women going through divorce. Why? Not only have I been handling mortgages for well over 20 years, but also I have a law degree. So I have a unique understanding of like how all the legal components are working, as well as I have gone through it. I've lived it. I personally have been divorced and had to split up a house and things like that or whatever, right? So I have a lot of experience with that. And what I find so often is that a lot of times during the divorce process, especially when there's a major asset like the house, a lot of women are making decisions from a very emotional place as opposed to understanding that it is very emotional, but we kind of have to parse them out. We have to look at the emotional component as well as the financial component. How does that look? How do all the numbers strap out? And so I'm going to highly, highly encourage you that if you're maybe struggling in your relationship and it's in response to money, or if you have already unfortunately gone past the brink of no return and we're in the process or have gotten divorced, that we take a step back and make sure that we are parsing that out, that we are parsing out the emotions and the money and ensuring that we're parsing them out, we understand them independently of each other, and then also putting them back together. Okay. Because taking your seat at the financial table to me means that you have an understanding of what's happening and that it is in alignment with what you're looking for. That not one person is making all the financial decisions, right? That we're understanding what some of the emotional underpinning is and that we feel secure and really good about the decisions that we're making. And when those kind of things happen, what you're going to notice is a giant shift. Okay. And I personally have witnessed it, and I'll explain to you how. So, again, for those of you who have been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that my husband and I made a very major house purchase that was very expensive. And then we went through this period where after our daughter was born, 8 weeks, 2 days early, and financially we started getting a lot more drained. We went to sell this house, and it goes under contract, and the house floods. And it does this huge amount of financial damage to us, not only to the house, but then to our personal finances. And basically, we ended up in a place where we're damn near bankrupt. Okay, so here we are struggling massively. Usually, this is the period in a marriage and in a relationship where we're pointing fingers. Well, you did this. Well, you did that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And trust me when I say there were days that we probably did a little bit of that and even wanted to do that even more than maybe what we did. The difference is at the end of the day, we step back and we recognize and we realize that we had made those financial decisions together. And so no matter how good or bad those financial decisions are in hindsight, because remember, that's always 2020, those decisions were made together with full financial awareness. And so even though neither one of us like the outcome, in fact, we still don't exactly like some of the outcome that has rippled down because of this situation, it doesn't mean that we blame each other, that we feel like we were empowered and we're making decisions that were aligned with what we were looking for. And that is huge. And so I made this episode just to encourage people, but women specifically, don't let somebody else take your power away. Don't let somebody else tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing. You are so capable beyond your wildest expectations. And no, you don't have to be perfect with math. And no, you don't have to have it all figured out. And no, you don't have to have a PhD in finance to be able to do this. It is simply asking questions, being a part of the conversation, knowing what page you're on with the other individual, or even yourself. If you're now going through one of these transition periods, if we're now coming out of that crazy town where you were not aligned and you didn't have a seat at the financial table, now you're going to create one. You're going to be the arbitrator of ensuring the financial mastery is on your radar and that you are doing it in a way that resonates with you. And so I can't stress enough how important it is. And if you need some help, we've got resources. We want to help you. I'm in the process of creating a free lead magnet that is going to give you some tools to be able to ensure that you are in financial alignment and that you are looking for a way to make sure that you are not getting rid of your power and that you're not outsourcing it and that you are stepping into your own. And so I hope you found this episode of Financial Mastery Simplified helpful. I can't wait to see what you do when you are financially powered in a way that just ripples out and gives others permission to do exactly the same thing.